Hello, everybody, and welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around fancy Premier League. My name's Suj.
And my name is James.
It's the end of game week 4. We're more than 10% of the way through the season, James, if you look at it
Oh
like
my
that.
God. That is definitely the most depressing statistic you will hear on this podcast. I'm fairly certain.
I don't
Really?
think it is the most depressing statistic we'll hear on this show. There
Oh,
are
go on
plenty
then.
of...
What's gonna be the most depressing then? Was it the XG from Villa against West Ham yesterday?
It was probably Salah's XG versus the rest of his entire team. Yeah, I
Oh
mean, that
my
was a
God.
depressing game of football. Whether or not the stats from it were depressing, we'll get into. But another weekend done, another amazing weekend
Yeah,
in
it was.
bonkers ways. But still. So yeah, I come out of it with 80 points in the end, which I'm very happy with. It's the game week rank is outside the top million. 1.25 million off 80 points, which goes to show how high the standard was this weekend. It helps when there's a 9-0 in
Well,
there. It
let's
helps
be
when there's a
honest,
hat
it
trick from
could have been
Haaland.
a lot higher.
Yes, let's be honest, it could have. I think that, I mean, the majority of my mini league rivals, the majority of players I see were well on Salah captaincy. I don't know the stats. I don't know if anyone tweeted them out or if you could see them on live stats on captaincy polls or whatever. I don't know if you had a look, James, or saw the captaincy percentages.
I didn't, as a non-Salah owner, I didn't want to look.
So yeah, I made 2 moves the week on Saturday morning. I sold Alisson, fully expecting him to keep a clean sheet against Bournemouth, but I bought Sanchez, knowing that I needed the money. Basically, I needed to downgrade, and that money freed me up to go from De Bruyne to Salah and captain Salah. And I felt like that trade-off was worth it, knowing that I'm still going to go back to De Bruyne for this midweek set of fixtures. And in the end, I think it paid off by a few points, I would say, because had I not bought Salah, I would have captained Jesus instead of anybody else, because I thought their Fulham home game was right, and obviously he didn't return. Sanchez outscored Alisson by a couple of points, so I'm probably 4 or 5 points up, something like that. But now set with a bit of money and Sanchez in goal instead of Alisson, and an option on what I do with my third Liverpool spot. So fairly comfortable with my transfers. Obviously returns all over the place, really. Sanchez with a nice 8-pointer. Trent, decent. Perisic, clean sheet. The man keeps ticking along.
Trent, decent. Hold on. How many people were selling him last week?
17 points. Yeah, he
Okay,
done
mate.
well. Kulu, Diaz, and Haaland all did the business. No, Martinelli, nothing. Martinelli, Jesus, Pereira, and Cancelo were the blankers, and Salah, of course, as well.
So
yeah, 80 points.
Your transfers actually got you a net profit, remarkably.
Yeah. Even though one was Salah to armband.
Quite amusing, actually.
Yeah.
It's worth saying, obviously. I mean, look, if you captain Bo, which most of you, if you own, probably will have done, and are sitting there disappointed that he's not returned. I mean, fine, be disappointed. Definitely don't be angry about it. Like, it's got to laugh about it.
It's the right decision.
Plus, remember as well, most competitors like me who went with Jesus, 1 point
worse.
return, right? So he didn't hurt in the sense that I know obviously you were tweeting about Havertz, and I'm sure any of us who captained Havertz, it must have been crossing our mind like, this is ridiculous. We can forget the whole Kai Havertz thing now, because for Mo Salah not to get an attack in return in a 9-0 win
and play 90 minutes as well.
I mean, like, honestly, if you'd have told me pre-kickoff, I would have been taking -12s, whatever, to make sure I had him. It's unbelievable. Don't be angry about it. It's just a freak. It'll like, never happen again. It's almost impossible. Exactly what you said. 90 minutes. You missed 2 big chances in the game. Don't be angry about it. It's one of them things that really you should just absolutely laugh about it. And if you've got Mo, probably captain him again on Wednesday and crack on, and don't worry about it too much. But
I'm not, to be honest with you, I'm happy to move off. I think
there's alternatives with the City fixture, obviously.
Exactly. For me, I'm probably going to go Haaland. I'm going to get De Bruyne back. I'm not going to sit on Salah. I'm going to get De Bruyne back and for this fixture because I want De Bruyne longer term, and the money it frees me up means that I'll be upgrading Nathan Patterson to Saliba, and then I'm kind of set. Then I don't really see any moves I particularly want to make.
That's absolutely fine because I mean, yeah, I think on the face of it, yes, I probably would captain De Bruyne or Haaland over Salah this coming Wednesday if it looks like those two players are going to play. So make the decision for the right reasons. But hearing people say, oh, I've got to sell him if he's blanking in a 9-0. I mean, stop all that talk, honestly. They'll win like 3-0 on Wednesday night and he'll get a trick. That's how he is, right?
Yeah, completely. What about yourself, sir?
All right, not too bad. 76. So the Liverpool boys really came through for me. 40 points from Trent, Robertson, and Luis Diaz. 17 from Haaland, 7 from Reece James is essentially my week. The rest blankers, including Sonny, unfortunately, he's got to be on the chopping block for me now. I'm afraid.
Whereas some people are like Salah chopping block, Sonny, I think, is one that you can now say, you know what, enough is enough.
Looking ahead, I wouldn't even have the confidence, I think, to stick the armband on him in 6 unless. I mean, I'm probably looking to get KDB in this week, or there's a couple of alternatives I'm considering. The hook captain for me will be Haaland unless Pep says he's not playing, because I think he'll start Wednesday night personally, and I'm prepared to take that risk because I wouldn't want to not captain him and then see that team lineup as a non-Salah owner and go, oh yeah, shit, I didn't do it. He looks like he'd kill anybody, almost irrespective of the opposition at the moment. I think the way it's fallen, he'll probably miss the Villa game of the weekend, which we'll probably talk about more when we speak about City. All right. Okay, week. There's others who've had worse. There's others who've had a lot better. It's okay. I've got 2 free transfers, so I'm not in a crisis situation. I rolled the transfer. I just could not justify taking Andy Robertson out. Was the way I felt about it. And arguably he could have had another assist, right? That one with Firmino's last goal. Yeah, if Firmino puts it in the first time, Robertson probably gets the assist for that as well. So yeah, them Liverpool boys came through pretty strong. It was a brave call to go without Salah. Arguably, despite the outcome, arguably the wrong call to not go with him because that's insane.
You got away with it more than
we took Harry up Alexandra Palace on Saturday. As generally we got around my parents.
Lake.
Yeah, we got around my parents. I watched Southampton Man United, got in the car, went round now. I'd obviously had to look at all the lineups on the way there and stuff, but I generally didn't look at my phone at all till it was about 5-4. And the first thing I saw was the Premier League's tweet of all the halftime scores. You see it's 5-0, and it's honestly it didn't go through my mind. Oh, I wonder how well Robertson, Trent, and Luis Diaz have done. It just went through my mind how badly has Mo destroyed me here. Literally.
Yeah, it was as an owner, it was like even worse because as the goals are going in, you're like, oh, the next one's got to have some involvement. Oh, the next one's going to be Salah. And then when you get to 4s and 5s, teams take their foot off the pedal at that point. And then you're like, now he's going to get subbed off because they've won the game. Now they're just not going to go on and score anymore and just going to pass out the game and preserve themselves. And it's going to be one of them. It was horrible. I think for when he missed the first big chance, it felt like it's one of them, isn't it? It's one of them.
He should go with it with his right foot, by the way.
Oh, he should.
He'd know that himself. He can't actually miss if he goes for it with his right foot. Can't miss as long as he makes contact. Today, after we taken Harry to the lake, we then took him into the little playground now. Again, didn't really look at my phone. My dad said it was about 15 minutes ago. I was saying my dad said it's 8-0, and I was like, same thing. How badly has Salah killed me this half? It's exactly what went through my head. To be honest, when I was scrolling through and seeing the scorers and assists, all you could do was laugh. I think whether you had him or you didn't have him, just laugh at that. It's just complete freak occurrence. There are similarities to the Havertz last year, but unlike that last year where obviously the Havertz owners were so badly punished by what Mo himself did against Manchester United the next day, it was only the Haaland captainers who really took it away this weekend. As I said, the majority were on Jesus if they weren't on Salah by the looks of it.
Yeah, exactly that. Should we talk about these games? We'll rattle through. Listeners, I know that it's a tight turnaround between game week 4 and game week 5, with the deadline being Tuesday evening. So you only got a couple of days to get this podcast into your plug holes. We'll talk about the games and see what influence it has on our fixtures moving forward a little bit. But the first early kickoff was Southampton 0, Manchester United 1. I would say almost functional 1-0 rather than any of the excitement and razzmatazz of the Monday night victory over Liverpool. Ground it out.
Yeah, I mean, therefore it's a very good result for United, actually.
Oh, yeah.
That people will just forget this, and they've just got this is what we spoke about. What are you going to do afterwards? They didn't play with the same intensity as they played against Liverpool, and that's completely understandable. I felt sorry for both teams in this game because the pitch is absolutely diabolical at St Mary's at the moment, which is no one's fault. The pitch has apparently got some sort of disease and infection.
COVID.
Maybe it's got COVID. I don't know. Maybe COVID 22. I don't know. But it's got some sort of strain of something, which I have heard about this before. I remember Tottenham had this like 20 years ago with the pitch that it just became really bare and stuff. Tottenham had so much trouble with it. And Southampton, like all the Premier League pitches, is normally absolutely great, right? So that's something to note for, bearing in mind, obviously, Chelsea going to go there tomorrow night. It's not going to be any better for that, which is going to make it a difficult watch and makes me want to watch something else tomorrow night, to be honest. Coming up, they've got Brentford at home in 7, Everton at home in 9. I don't know how long this is going to take to get it sorted. If they would consider maybe even cutting it up, perhaps even during the international break or something. I don't know how quickly they can change that. It was just bone dry. It was bobbling and patchy in so many places. And it just, when we're used to the quality of pitches that we get in our league, it just becomes so noticeable. Like that would have been a great pitch 15, 20 years ago, but now it's so noticeable and obvious, which made the flow of the game really, really difficult for both teams. I mean, Southampton probably can feel a little bit unlucky that they lost. Bella Kotchop at centre-back was absolutely great for them. I have seen this sort of thing from Southampton defenders before, where they look absolutely world-class in games like this, and then in upcoming fixtures, shit the bed. We've had that a lot with Salisu. It's like a fucking yo-yo in terms of how good or bad he is. Djenepo at left-back did really well again. I think Southampton either want to add in that area or obviously get Romain Perraud up to fitness really, really quickly. Lavia, great in midfield. What a talent he is. And from a tactical aspect, Southampton did target United in the left-hand channel, as we would expect. Che Adams straight away. First direct ball Southampton played, Che Adams went right in, backed in against Martinez. And he did quite well, Martinez. But there were a couple where you think, yeah, you're still going to have real trouble with certain players. I mean, say, for example, when they play Mitrovic, for example, he's just going to throw him around the pitch, I think. So yeah, he did fine, but teams are still going to target it like Liverpool could not do on Monday night. I look at like Leicester Thursday night, and I think that's probably not so much of a problem. But Jesus on Sunday can be quite physical. It's just whether Arsenal will go that way and play quite direct into Jesus, for example. For United, some good performers. I thought both fullbacks were solid as. Which I can't think how many times, other than obviously last Monday, I can't think of that many times I've said that about United fullbacks. It was a great assist by Dalot for Fernandez's goal. And I've thought about him, Suj.
What price is he? 4.5.
I think he's 9. I think he's 9.8. No, I'm talking about
Bruno.
I
thought you were talking about Dalot.
Yeah, no, I'll tell you why. It's probably a complete no-go. He's 9.8. I thought about it because my likely move is I'm probably going to go like Sessegnon to Williams or Ramsdale to Sanchez/Raya and Son to De Bruyne with my 2 free transfers. But I have thought about, obviously, I want to get Ivan in, like most people, going Sessegnon to Perisic and then coming down from Son and just having a look at Sterling or Fernandes, for example. Preference would be Sterling, but not particularly for that pitch tomorrow night at Southampton. So I have looked at him, and there is this correlation which he's basically been piss poor since Ronaldo come in the club, right? And Ronaldo at the moment's not playing, and Bruno's
might be gone within
2.
Well, they've got until Wednesday, Thursday, haven't they, to sort it out before the transfer window closes. And you'd think that the chances are that Ronaldo won't be there. considering how desperate he is to try and get himself out of the club, you'd think that something might happen.
Put it this way: the upcoming games coming up, like Leicester and Arsenal, I don't see Ronaldo starting. Crystal Palace away, I don't see Ronaldo starting. No. Man City away is 2 after that. I don't see Ronaldo starting. In fact, even Leeds in 8, with the way Leeds have got their intensity back, don't see Ronaldo starting. So we're looking at him, arguably, unbelievably, as third choice forward. And it certainly is freeing up Bruno to arrive into the box later. It was far more like a 4-2-3-1, this, with Eriksen sitting deeper alongside McTominay and Bruno making those late runs into the box that he's so good at. Is 9.8 justifiable for him? No. And I can't see myself going down that route, but I have considered it. Rashford, I thought, was pretty quiet, despite the fact he was up front again, because obviously Martial's injury. What they did, interestingly, and it might be something to kind of note for future games, is they swapped sides in the sense that Elanga went and played on the right and Sancho went and played on the left. And I think that was to get Elanga to run at Gineppo in the same way that Elanga had run at Trent on Monday night. So if those front three stay the same, you might well see it where Elanga will play on the side where they think they can expose the fullback, essentially. Because Sancho, he just doesn't have enough oomph about him. Every time I think, you look at the goal Monday night, but then you could have watched him the whole game Saturday and not felt like he was there. And I'm not even saying he played badly. He didn't. Just not really feeling like he's going to get involved in the returns or anything. Feels off it for me. So I think United is still, unfortunately, a watching brief. If I had to go into one, it would probably be like Rashford or Dalot. Dalot's worth keeping an eye on at his price. What would you say is Suj for?
4-4 now. No, he's dropped down a little bit. Someone trying to save a couple
worse ones, but then I look at the upcoming 5 or so. Leicester, Arsenal, Palace is away, City away, even Leeds at home. I don't know how many clean sheets there are in that run. If you're looking for rotators, perhaps someone like Dalot would worth consider. I think he's worth keeping an eye on. I would say that. Saints is no interest at the moment.
Brentford 1, Everton 1. Everton, another club where I think it's an avoid at the moment in terms of their assets. But Anthony Gordon got on the score sheet, late equaliser for Janelt. So David Raya's clean sheet wipeout, but he still ends up picking up a couple of bonus points as well. Did Anthony Gordon add a couple of million to his price tag there with that goal? Do you think? Do you see that deal happening between now and the end of the window? Chelsea are pushing hard, mate, for it.
No, I don't think it will, actually.
Oh wow, okay.
Is my instinct. I just think Chelsea might get a bit caught up with like Fofana and Aubameyang by the sounds of it, and Gordon might be the third priority, if you will. Yeah. Because I mean, if they end up getting all 3, it's going to be over 150 million for the 3, I suppose. It's got to be, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they've spent good money so far as well.
So I think it probably won't. It's worth saying he did play really well. Sometimes you can obviously get players in this situation whose head's not in the game, and he took his goal great.
Willy Bolly.
Willy Bolly.
Well, he didn't turn up, did he?
Just quickly, because we'll probably forget. Yeah, Bruno Lage said he told, and it's really weird, he told Willy Bolly he needed him, he was going to be on the bench, and Willy Bolly just didn't turn up. Yeah. Might end up at Nottingham Forest before Thursday, I would suggest to usage, because everybody else ends up at Nottingham Forest, as you well know. No, Gordon took his goal really well, in fairness. This is a really difficult one to break down because Everton had 7 shots on target. Raya's obviously returned a 6-pointer for owners, which is incredible at home to Everton with no clean sheet. But bar that statistic, Brentford should have won this by miles. They really laid siege. They obviously hit the woodwork 3 times or so.
Yeah, I saw a number of people tweet Everton's man of the match was woodwork.
The woodwork, yeah. Yeah, I mean, they played on Nana in midfield with Iwobi, and if they play against a team that's got 3 in midfield, Iwobi, as I've said a few times, I think he's been doing really well, but they just get swamped in that area. They need to sort that, as they do need to get a forward in. Obviously, Neil Maupay is signed officially for Everton now, which they had to get a forward in. So that's at least done. At least gives them some coverage. I would assume Maupay could well go straight into the team at Leeds tomorrow night. Holgate's injured now to add to Mina and Godfrey. So Michael Keane presumably will go into the back 3, but then the cover now is gone. They've gone from 6 centre-backs to 3 centre-backs. The other option they could do is obviously play Seamus Coleman as a wide centre back, which I thought they might do at the weekend and shove Holgate into midfield because they're so short of bodies in that area as well. The injuries cannot build up for them. And you look at the fixtures next. I mean, this is the problem. Speaking to Mark Southerns on the way to Nottingham yesterday, and we're talking about obviously Forest we expect to be down there and in trouble. But one of the reasons you really expect them to be in trouble, you look at the other teams, you think, oh, who is going to be in trouble? And you can't help every time you discuss it, come full circle to Everton and look at Leeds away, no points, Liverpool at home, no points, Arsenal away, no points. Then there's a little run of West Ham at home, Southampton away, United at home, Tottenham away, Newcastle away. Then they have a good little run of fixtures before the World Cup. But you can't, when you, every time you look for Everton's fixtures, you go, I don't see them getting anything anywhere.
Maybe 4 points in the next 7 or 8, something like that would be.
I mean, the chances are they will get more than that, but you can't help but look at them and think, oh mate. Yeah. Anyway, Brentford, probably more importantly from an FPL perspective, it was a back four. Zanka, who was re-signed in the summer, played at centre-back with Ben Mee. The Ethan Pinnock injury is worse than people were suggesting in pre-season by the sounds of it. It was a back four, as said. You obviously get the two fullbacks very advanced in Hickey and Henry want to go forward, and particularly when they can dominate the game like this. But we've said this a number of times. Certain players are affected by the system. So although he didn't return at the weekend, he obviously hit the post, Tony. We do think this system is better for Tony than the back three. This system is probably worse for Mbeumo than the back three. So there's obviously a lot will have gambled on Tony this week. And I think timing absolutely fine ahead of Everton at home. I wouldn't rush to move that on. But I think psychologically, people go, I've gone Tony, oh shit, Mitch Fisher scored at Arsenal. Just the next few fixtures are still decent for Brentford. I wouldn't panic 12, to come off.
Really, I think Brentford, if you've gone in on a Raya or a Tony, you just sit and hold for a while because you don't want to be using your transfers. There's opportunities on some of these premiums.
I think interestingly,
will not be that Brentford, far off from it.
We've spoken about Brentford having this brilliant run of fixtures all the way to game week 16. And I still have them top of my ticker, actually, for the next 5 fixtures, despite they've got 3 away and includes Arsenal at home. But actually, once you get to that Arsenal fixture, so the next 3, this is part of the problem with Brentford. Away from home, you never feel like going to keep clean sheet. So it's got Palace away, Leeds at home, Southampton away. So as a group of 3 fixtures, absolutely fine. They could easily not win any of them, though. And actually, when you look at the run afterwards, Arsenal at home, Bournemouth away, their away record is questionable. Newcastle away, Brighton at home, Chelsea at home, Villa away. When you cluster that, actually, again, a little bit like with Everton, you start breaking it down, going, I don't know how many they're getting now. So maybe that long run isn't as great as it looks, actually, for Brentford, arguably. But I think if you've gone into their assets, I'd be wanting to keep the next 3. Those who've ended up with the situation, and I've seen it in a few teams like Henry and Raya, I don't like it because never feel like they're going to keep clean sheets away from home.
It's part of the reason why I ended up going with Sanchez over Raya, even though I missed his 0.1 rise on Friday night.
Schoolboy error.
Well, I checked it about 8:30, and it didn't even look like it was anywhere close, Sanchez, to going up. But guess I missed it anyway. Raya outscored Sanchez. So what you've just said about Raya's fixtures and Brentford's fixtures, I'm more comfortable with Sanchez's fixtures moving forward, to be honest with you. And they did keep a clean sheet, and they won 1-0 at home to Leeds. I've seen a few people buying Pascal Gross, a few people leaning into Leandro Trossard. We had some questions in on Twitter on Estupinen, all right, but this was interesting because Leeds dominated possession in this game, and perhaps it kind of played into Brighton's hands a little bit because
this is on trend with what's been happening with Brighton going back to sort of April now.
It's 57%. I mean, you look at the passes. The reason I raise it, we talk about it when we talk about Sky Fantasy Football because their centre backs don't rack up the passes like they would when they're dominating games, and they haven't been. But Leeds dominated possession, but Brighton obviously dominated the game and ended up winning 1-0.
What's changed massively for Brighton is they're far more incisive in their attacking. Less control play, more hurt the opposition. And they're seeing the benefits. This is
I think so. They used to pass you to death, but no end product, right? All fart, no poo.
Brighton are on 10 points. It's brilliant. They should be on 12 points.
Yeah.
Because should have beat Newcastle in game week 2 as well. What was different about the weekend, and I must confess I haven't seen a huge amount of this game, so someone get me in the comments if I'm wrong. But look, like with Estupiñán playing, little bit more of a change of system. So I've had concerns with Brighton that I think this Trossard left wing back role is so unique that I did actually have concerns that Estupiñán coming into the team might slow them down in terms of their fluidity on the ball. It looks like it was more of a back four, looking at average positions at the weekend, which would be obviously Veltman on the right, Estupiñán left. And then you've got Solly March playing a higher position. Now, I don't doubt that this probably transferred with and without the ball as it often does with them, but it does look like in a lot of phases they were in more of a back four. The other kind of giveaway on that is that Webster was to the right of Dunk. There's no way logically to me that Dunk plays at the left of the back three if it's a back three. So that tells me as well that Brighton played a back four. So we've got to change the system here. I'm not sure that's good for them, but it might be that it was tactical designed to deal with Leeds in one way. Now, from that perspective, this system will make Gross more interesting as it stands, because 100% of the 3 central players, Gross will be the most advanced as it stands. I don't love it as an option. I feel like, and all the reports I've seen, the little highlights I've seen, it looks like he was probably the standout performer of the weekend. Rating seems to suggest the same and stuff. I just think he's possibly on a little bit of a run here. It feels like. I feel like we've been here before, that's all. But the underlying numbers and stuff are good.
Yeah, I think it's an escape, isn't it? For a lot of people that were
obviously
on Neto, or maybe had a little bit of money from a transfer and wanted to come off Bailey. Gross is less than 6 million, isn't he, at the moment? So he might be one that, and I think he had a rise, didn't he, at Saturday? So
he's up to 5.8 now.
8. So he would have been. Some people would have got him at 5.6, 5.7 as a replacement for a Neto or a Bailey, and I can understand that. But the closer he gets to 6, I'm with you. It's not one that I want to go for. I'm playing a very boring, safe
He'll keep going up. There's 2 very simple reasons. Well, it's 3 simple reasons for that. One is form's good. 2, anybody at this stage of a season who's sitting in the FPL team of the season is going to get interest. So he's the 3rd highest scorer in the game at the moment. So he's got 35 points from 4 games. And the fixtures are still good. You know, Fulham, Leicester, Bournemouth next 3. You ain't going to be scared about that. And people go, hang on, Palace is the 4th one. You shouldn't be scared of that. No, you shouldn't be. But Brighton never beat Crystal Palace, so just factor that in. Then there's Liverpool, Tottenham. But Brighton drew at Liverpool last year.
Yeah.
I mean, they will. You know, they're not dominating the ball. I bet they do against us. I bet they do against us. So, I think I've been one where I've kept saying Raya over Sanchez for me. One of the reasons for that is I knew if I wanted to get a defensive player from one of those 2 teams, I would want Dunk more than Henry. That was my take, and I didn't want to end up in a position where I've seen a few teams would say Raya and Henry, for example. But it might be that the goalkeeper choice, looking at it in a bit more detail, might be Sanchez, because despite Raya's nice little return at the weekend, he does feel like it's only home games. And a little closer inspection tells me Leeds at home, Arsenal at home are Brentford's only 2 in the next 6. So if I do make that move this weekend, Sanchez probably feels the better move. And obviously looking over 6 weeks, I mean, that's taking me up to game week 11. I might have wildcarded by then anyway as well.
Yeah.
So I think it would probably be Sanchez for me at the moment. Veltman and Webster. Well, Veltman's actually getting more points than Dunk at the moment. My only concern is, and this is, it's terrible reasoning. Dunk he's the boy. He'll always play. Somewhere in this system, whether it's a 4 or a 3, somewhere Levi Colwill's going to want to get minutes. Now, I don't believe he's gone on Brighton on loan to sit on the bench all season. I'd just be a little bit cautious of that, because as or when he comes in the team, it won't be for dunk. If it's a back 4, Veltman will be first choice right back, but then you've got potential mins there for Lamptey and stuff, haven't you then?
Yeah.
So there's not enough between them, I think, to justify going Veltman over Dunk. Veltman's had the rise up to 4.6, excuse me, and only William Saliba's got more FPL points than him as a defender. So again, the interest will stay there for Veltman. For those who went on Leeds at the weekend, my message kind of going into it on the deadline stream and stuff was like, absolutely fine if it works for your structure, but don't expect anything at Brighton, basically.
No, they still got good fixtures after. Everton at home, Brentford away, Forest at home. Those 2 home games are solid. I just can't see a way of taking a punt on one for that. I'm just not in taking a punt on someone with good fixtures territory in my squad at the moment. So I don't think I could talk anyone out of Leeds, because they've been doing okay, but just doesn't work for me right now.
There will be people listening who've got wildcard game week 8 ringed at the moment, which is a viable way of doing it. And no, I don't think there's a right or wrong in terms of how you do your wildcard. But those who are looking at 8 will naturally be drawn to Leeds, because those 3 fixtures, 3 games that include Everton and Nottingham Forest at home, look very, very attractive. So if you've gone in, stay. I'm still a little bit concerned with Rodrigo that Bamford might come back in at any moment, but I think that those who've gone in already, you go with it. And I wouldn't put anybody off buying him tomorrow because they've got Everton, quite frankly. But it's not getting beat at Brighton's not a disaster for Leeds. They've had a really good start as well.
Chelsea 2, Leicester 1. Obviously, both teams to score was a given in this game, but
that's because Leicester are playing.
Leicester got to be concerned to lose, having gone Chelsea going down to 10 men to then go 2-0 down. Although, look, Chelsea are a good team. I love my Raheem Sterling in our -56 league that we run with our patrons, captaincy shout 30-pointer he picked up.
The French was captain as well, Suj.
He was, I know, I remember. Conor Gallagher just making sure that he gets a move before the deadline somewhere by getting himself sent off and unavailable for the next few, maybe.
That was brain dead, wasn't it? What was he thinking? It'd only be 1 game ban, by the way.
I don't know. James.
So he'd be back available for West Ham at the weekend. By the way, just what I remember, just in case we forget, on the West Ham fixture in game week 6, he's moved.
Yeah, it's not on the app yet, which is stupid, on their website.
But it's still not announced, Suj.
Oh, it was announced by West Ham.
So, what, the kickoff time?
Oh, I don't know. The kickoff time wasn't, but I'm sure I had an email from them saying that the game's moved from Sunday to Saturday.
Correct. The game has moved. There's no kickoff time yet.
Right, okay.
Which,
you think they might do a silly 7 p.m. or something?
Which, can I just say, obviously, we're recording this really early in the morning, so this you might know by the time this comes out. But that is absolutely absurd that they did not have a contingency already in place for this fixture to now be 5 days away from the game and currently not know what the kickoff time is. I think Sky wants to put the game on at 7:45 because Sky have it as the 2 o'clock game on the Sunday.
Yeah, so but I didn't think we were televised.
Yeah, it's the live game, Suj.
Okay, it was.
Yeah, Brighton and Leicester's 2 o'clock because something's going on in Brighton, I think, is the reason why that fixture has moved. I don't know if it's a carnival in Brighton or something. I think so. Right. So you're the Sky games. The Sky want to show it. So it's the only slot for Sky is 7:45 or a mad 10:30 a.m., which I can't see anybody going for.
Ain't gonna happen.
There's no way that BT are going to let them clash with the Merseyside derby at 12:30. Literally no chance of that. So did Sky put on 2 games at 5:30, or do they drop the game and it goes to 3 o'clock? Or is it 7:45? I think Sky wants 7:45. I bet the fucking police don't want Chelsea to play West Ham at 7:45 on a Saturday night.
Yeah, you're right.
That's a potential trouble. It's one thing having that in the midweek on a Saturday night. Yeah, I don't see that. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. I don't think, and this is, again, this might sound outlandish and outrageous if you've heard an announcement by the time you obviously hear or watch this. I don't think it's impossible that the game is postponed.
Nah.
I don't think it's impossible. I think it extremely unlikely. But you get to a stage, and just a little point on this. Chelsea have obviously overhauled their whole kind of behind the scenes, right? Maybe someone's not thought to take care of this sort of thing, like arranging with the police or stewarding. If you can't get that sorted, it's no game. Doesn't matter. If you cannot get police, stewarding, catering staff, all that stuff, there is no football match. Forget you can say, yeah, the two teams will turn up. Of course they will. And 99% of fans will turn up. But the later it gets, the piss take. Our Chelsea correspondent, Gary Mann, and people say, oh, there's two clubs in London. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, but Gary's working Saturday. It's not working Sunday. So he can't go now. So the later it gets, just saying, I think that's like a 1% chance, by the way. What are we talking about, Suj? Chelsea beating Leicester.
Should we put Leicester in the bracket of we're not touching any of their players right now? Because, I mean, everybody that I know is on the goalkeeper double-ups finding a way to try and come off it. They're going to Manchester United and Brighton as the next two, which they're not going to win either of those, in my opinion.
That's really interesting. If I decide to go for the Sessegnon to Nico Williams route to open up Kevin De Bruyne for me, I won't rule out going the Leicester guys, actually.
The goalkeepers?
Yeah. Yeah, I won't rule out going to it. Ward is obviously losing ownership now because people are going 1.6 of it. By the way, he did make one great save from Sterling in that second half with his feet. Yeah, it's probably been his only save this season, Suj, but let's throw a little bit of credit out there. It was actually a brilliant save. You could only see it behind the goal. That's how good a save it was. I'm thinking of going to it. So what I'm thinking is, I'll just give you a hypothetical. Let's say I go down the De Bruyne and Nico Williams route this week and I've got no money in the bank. And then say Salah's been rested Wednesday night, which I'm not saying is going to happen at all. I think it's more likely Salah could get rested at Everton. Let's say you got the rest Wednesday night and then I'm looking at Haaland at Villa maybe not playing and going, who's my captain this week? I'm thinking, shit, I need to force Mo in away to Everton. The goalkeepers is my route. It would be my only route, really. And actually at that point, the window's closed. We know that they're staying as the two goalkeepers, which has always been my concern. I still think they might buy a goalkeeper this week. There's no way I would make that move this week, by the way. Brighton away is obviously not good, but they can have days where, like Newcastle, don't put the ball in the net. Villa at home's not a fixture to be feared. They're wank at the moment. Tottenham away is obviously very difficult. You would expect nothing. But then after that, there's a really good run of fixtures where, honestly, as shit as they are, even they might get some clean sheets. So I think if you're on it now, yes, if it was me, I'd be thinking, oh, I really want to get off. But I'm looking at it and going, I might have the two for 3.9 each, so 7.8 rather than 8.0. I've not ruled it out. It won't be this week, 100%. There's no way I would go to them now while this window's still open. But afterwards, I think it possibly becomes a viable option with the fixtures they've got. Not because of anything on Leicester, just some of the opposition they're playing won't score, is my opinion. But yes, every Leicester game starts 1-1.
I don't see it. For me, I don't see it.
That's fine.
I just think because Forest, you saw Forest, they took a few swings at you yesterday. Bournemouth, fine, but Crystal Palace can score, Leeds can score, Wolves nearly got two yesterday and then ended up with a one. I think that the clean sheets are going to be few and far between for Leicester, and it's going to get worse once Fofana's gone as well, which we know is going to happen today or tomorrow.
Yeah, but if it facilitates, you have to bear that in mind. Those who are looking to get off are looking at it now, in most cases, with the difficulty of having to sacrifice something else to get rid of them. Is part of the problem. I wouldn't look at anything else Leicester at the moment. As it stands right now, probably would expect Manchester United to go there and beat them. I think it's on the edge. I'd keep saying it. And actually, it was reported by most in the know journalists that Rodgers still maintains support upstairs. I mean, it's a really big week for them. Fofana's going to go. Are they going to let Rodgers spend some money? Tielemans might go as well. Massive, massive week. Wouldn't go anywhere near their assets with this window still open. And there's lots of things we could possibly say that about at the moment. I think, as I've said to you, it's heading to an inevitable conclusion, in my opinion, where they will part ways with the manager.
You ready to steam into a bit more Chelsea or not yet? You've got Reece James. I don't have any. I don't have the money to be able to get to Reece James, unless I was to get rid of like Perisic, which I'm really not going to do, or downgraded Trent, which I'm also not going to do. So I might end up just on Fofana or no Chelsea defence at all. And I'm not ready to go into their attack at all.
So it was back four basically for Chelsea. Trevor Chalobah obviously played with Koulibaly suspended. I suspect that might go back to a back three at Southampton tomorrow night. That said, I wouldn't expect Thiago Silva to play. So it might be that Koulibaly plays alongside Chalobah and they stick with that.
Or Fofana goes straight in.
There's no way Fofana won't play tomorrow night.
No.
He might do by the time.
Fair play. Sorry, I thought it was Thursday.
He might do by the time the West Ham game comes around, but even if they signed him at lunchtime, I don't think he plays tomorrow night, to be honest. But Reece James, despite Chelsea being down to 10 men and playing at the right back, obviously got up the pitch and assisted Sterling's goal. If you haven't seen the effort he has in the first half, it's breathtaking when he hits the near post when he gets up on the run. Still completed like 53 accurate passes, 2 key passes in the game. One big chance obviously created was the goal. He had another shot off target, another shot blocked. Still, he is absolutely dynamite when he's in this team. And as long as it's not right-sided centre-back, for me, he's the absolute standout. I just can't make a case for anybody else better than him at that value in the midfield or forward areas. Just cannot do it. Yes, it's going to be frustrating where there's going to be games like Leeds last week and stuff. But honestly, on a different day, despite going down to 10 men, he's potentially looking at sort of a 16-pointer or so at the weekend. If Mendy defends his near post better, he's on for a really good return, isn't he? You're putting that probably 11-ish or so, I guess. And he could have scored in the first half as well. So it's Reece James only for me is like, do I want to move it to get Perisic in is kind of the only debate. Otherwise, he sits there for me while he's fit, as far as I'm concerned. No major interest in Chelsea. I know a lot of people got Mount, who I think now is the only one of the 8 million midfielders from the start of the season who's done absolutely nothing.
Yeah, it's a shame.
But
obviously,
you're still in the same boat because you're looking at Southampton tomorrow night and thinking, mind you, I'm not sure that pitch is going to do Mason Mount any favours. And that's also a little bit off-putting with Sterling. Part of the reason I thought about Sterling is if I sell Son, there's every chance I haven't got Son or Kane against Fulham in game week 6. Now, there's a couple of points for that. One, Fulham look better than perhaps we'd anticipated. And Kane or Son, subject to how Wednesday night goes at West Ham, could be in for a rest against Fulham. I'd say, to be honest, if Son starts at West Ham, I really wouldn't expect him to start against Fulham, for example. Kane probably does play. But if Haaland plays against Forest, is every chance he's getting rested at Villa. How much faith have I got in KDB if he plays against Forest as well? Salah, I would just naturally have concerns about for Saturday, unless we have the tip-off before kickoff, just because we just know that historically, Klopp, the evening kickoff on a Wednesday, the Saturday lunchtime, he'll do anything with that. He doesn't care. His Merseyside derby definitely plays. Klopp won't treat it like that. And Nunes will be back available as well. So maybe that's who our captain should be in 6s. But what I'm saying is there's good fixtures in 6, but it might be we're sitting here after the Wednesday night games going, I don't know, to captain at the weekend. And Sterling at home to West Ham is the sort of one I feel like, could you, if in a worst case scenario, rather than say, I wouldn't want to captain Jesus away to Man United, for example. I'm not sure I'd want to captain one of the Liverpool defenders in a Merseyside derby. So probably both get booked. So if they concede, there's every chance it's a 1-pointer. So that's what's led me to thinking about him. I'm almost definitely going to go down this KDB route, I think. Mount, he's a difficult player to sell. Cucurella is absolutely fine at the moment. Don't worry too much about the positioning at the weekend and that.
What are your thoughts on Liverpool 9, Bournemouth 0? I mean, Bournemouth, you can see that when you're 2-0 down after 10 minutes, you're already on a hiding to nothing. But it just felt like every time Liverpool attacked, there was a goal in it for them. And you can say, Liverpool were great to win any game of football 9-0. You've got to be on it. Your finishing's got to be on point. From the tap-ins to the Trent's bullets from outside the box. Bournemouth, I mean, minus 14 goal difference after 4 games into the season is pathetic. And I just think, look at it, and I'm like, Newcastle, fine. Newcastle at home for Liverpool in midweek is going to be a completely different game of football. And I don't think I can take anything from this Bournemouth game and say, right, okay, Liverpool turn the corner, or Liverpool now are in good form, or what have you, because Bournemouth were that bad that shit, Everton might have beaten Bournemouth. That's how crap Bournemouth were.
Yeah, there's every chance they would have. What's the opposite? you know, when you're top, stop the count. Right, what's the opposite? When you've got your head above water, what would that be?
Drown me.
Drown me.
Water, when your head's above water, they're not in the bottom three.
Don't want to get. Well, this
they're
is
just
it.
1 point below us right now.
They're probably
that home win on the opening day of the season to keep them safe.
All through Saturday, we're probably going stop, and they're 17.
James, it's the same. If you're outside the relegation zone, you want to stop the count as well.
Well, it says it just stop the count. But
I
feel like, yeah,
I don't know. I thought you were talking more about put them out their misery type thing.
No, it can't get worse than that. I don't think. That they've been missing personnel, like Solanke only came on at half-time and stuff. He's had a little play around with the system, where I'm pretty sure it's so bad that they'll probably go back to a back five, it almost irrespective of the fact that they're playing Wolves in midweek. But Neil Grover's on Clash of Correspondents tomorrow. He'll know far more about it than myself. They're unfortunately exactly what Neil said. First 11's all right. Depth is none. And I don't know how they survive in this league. I don't know how anybody can get any joy out of looking at whether you like or dislike Scott Parker. I don't know you can get any joy out of watching that interview of him after the game. It was quite sad to watch. He was literally going to cry his eyes out. He was holding it in. Literally basically begging, saying these players need help. Now, there's some people who suggest perhaps a different manager might help. But I'm not sure that's the solution. At the moment, they need unity and togetherness. Ironically, they have the best fixtures between now and the World Cup. But we knew this would happen because of the first 4 fixtures. And look, they've got 3 points on the board. I'm sure Neil will agree with this, but if I'd have said to him, you're going to come into that Wolves game on 3 points, probably would have taken it. Nearly at 1 point a game. Imagine they beat Wolves Wednesday night. I mean, to be honest, it's one of them games. Would you be that stunned if Bournemouth beat Wolves?
No.
And then suddenly they're on 6 points from 5, sitting at like 12th or 13th in the table with good fixtures still to come and stuff. I think the issue for them will become, and the Wolves game becomes very important, because having watched Forest yesterday, I can't see them doing anything but getting beat at Forest at the weekend. Then it's Brighton at home, then it's Newcastle away. You look at them two at the moment and think, oh, yeah. So then it can quickly become 3 points from 8. And then at that point, it probably, irrespective of the fixtures, they'll be close to finished. Unless they do something miraculous in this window in the next 3 days. They are, I said it after they lost to Arsenal, and you kind of woof. And I said they are by far the worst team in this league. And I think, unfortunately, the weekend showed that. It doesn't mean they can't recover, but I don't know how anybody right now could predict that they won't be in the bottom 3. I think anyone would struggle to predict them finish anywhere but bottom.
Do Liverpool in 60 seconds. At the end of the day, I mean, they all returned, they all scored. If you own Liverpool assets, you know this can happen. That they did well. You just kind of holding through now with your 3. I mean, Diaz is going nowhere. Trent is going nowhere.
Not necessarily, because I can obviously now with I obviously really debated the -4 Robertson to Perisic and Son to Salah. And I wouldn't have been, ironically, I wouldn't have been that far off. I'd have been the hit off. But obviously, ironically, me captaining Salah rather than Jesus would have been worth an extra 4 points for me, wouldn't it? I could still make the same move, which is obviously Robertson to Perisic and Son to Salah. Now it's 3. That might be the logical one. I'm really concerned about this Everton game on Saturday, the 12th. I'm not concerned about Liverpool playing Everton. I'm sure they'll go there and win.
Starting.
Well, but the thing is as well, from my perspective, it's not just Salah, it's Robertson as well.
Yeah,
It's come off again. It's come off again early.
2 assists for Shimikas as well.
He's starting to slow down a little bit. So yes, okay, I've held obviously through Bournemouth, but looking at it game, yeah, he might be the one, and it's obvious, isn't it? People listening to it were telling me it was obvious from -4 last week. Now, admittedly, Liverpool playing Newcastle this week, excuse me, and it wouldn't affect my captaincy. But maybe from a setup perspective, it might be one where I look at it and go, I've got away with it, you know. Let me go back. Let me go with Mo. And from that perspective, maybe the information Wednesday night, because I spoke about one of the reasons why the role was more information. I could obviously come out Wednesday night, De Bruyne and Haaland play 90 minutes and go exactly what I said. What am I doing for captaincy at Villa? And it might be that Salah's come off after an hour against Newcastle and you feel comfortable about it. Who knows? Who knows? So I could yet make the same move that I was considering last week. Generally, I wouldn't bin your Liverpool players. I spoke about this prior to Bournemouth. You could easily keep 4 clean sheets from the 4 games starting against Bournemouth. As much as I think it was, don't overreact to the fact that they were well beat and really bad at Manchester United. Don't overreact to this either. It's obviously great they won 9-0. There are still fundamental problems in there. Fabinho being back in the team is a huge, huge, huge help. Please don't buy Roberto Firmino.
Agreed.
I know that people will do that. This happens with him once every year, maybe not to this extent. But we got a hat-trick at Watford last year. And, is he? Suddenly that he's not. Literally, this time last week, I have people saying Firmino's not Premier League level anymore. Darwin Núñez will be back in game week 6. And that's eyes on, potentially, to look at him. We might even get in a position we're sitting on Friday and Núñez looks one of the best captaincy options, possibly.
Man City 4, Crystal Palace 2. I mean, Palace reverted. They tried the same formation against Liverpool with 3 at the back, and initially when we're going into halftime 2-0 up, you're thinking, are we gonna see the same again? Is it a case that Palace are Man City's bogey team at the moment? But with City, I mean, it happened against Newcastle as well. There's never a moment where I feel that they're beaten. Never. I mean, like 2-0 for them is nothing because you blink and they can turn it around. Now that they got a Haaland,
yeah,
and just 6 goals and an assist in 4 games, 3 of which he's been substituted in 70-something, 70-something, and 80-something minutes.
Yeah.
He's everything we thought he was going to be, and now he's one of those that, yeah, if in doubt, like you can do it with Mo. If in doubt, just chuck the armband on him. I think you do it with Haaland. If in doubt, just chuck the armband on him. It's that good.
Yeah, we are. I think we are now in that position. The thing is, when they give him chances, I do not think he's going to miss.
No.
Like that on the 4th goal, and admittedly, you unless you're watching it live, and I wasn't, you obviously know at that point he's going to score. But I think if you were watching that live, you'd think he's going to hold these fuckers off and he's going to score. He's honestly, you watch him, it's not real sometimes. He feels like a cheat code. It feels like someone's like giving you a player in FIFA and he's got like strength 99, pace 99, and like,
yeah.
I don't know. I think no matter how good you are defensively, if he gets the service, he will do the business.
I know what you mean. Like, I mean, I was there. Right? I saw him live, and when he went through on goal, just shrug your shoulders. He's going to score here.
Well, look, listen, he missed a few chances at Newcastle and stuff. That one, Pope came out really quick to him when he kind of bundled away and in behind and stuff. He's not going to score every single game. He's really not. We just seen that last week.
Just most of them.
Bournemouth at home. 1 assist. Did you see the stat I tweeted on Saturday night?
Yeah, 90-something touches and 6
so
goals.
He's got 41 FPL points from 93 touches of a football, which gives him 1 FPL point for every 2.27 touches of a football.
I thought you were trying to create a new stat, James. X-touch. Like,
X-touch.
It's just the wrong kind of statistic.
You need X FPL points per touch. Yeah.
I like X-touch.
Try and fit that
like
in your diagrams, guys. But yeah, no, I think you're right. So for me, it's at the stage now where if he starts Wednesday, I think he's the best captaincy option this week. I think if he starts at Villa, he's the best captaincy option in 6. And I think this is where we're at now. I wouldn't have fear captaining him against Tottenham in game week 7. When ironically, you look at like Salah at home to Wolves is fine. It's absolutely fine. But you've seen from Wolves' performance at Tottenham, right? It can be quite stingy and sit in and change the system to funnel into back 5 without the ball and stuff. He feels like he's more the default at the moment and just accept what might come with. I think he starts against Forest, and I could have that completely wrong. And if I do, there's every chance I've got a 1-pointer. Though that said, with this particular fixture, there's every chance it will be a 0-pointer. If you're going down the Haaland route, have a good vice captaincy this week. But I just think the potential of what he can be is he's mad at the moment. I feel like he could get 5 or 6 in a game this season.
He will at some point. I'm on it. He's going to top 30 goals for the season. I really do.
And interestingly, obviously, I was talking to Mr. Southerns quite a lot yesterday, going to and from Forest. They've obviously got Bournemouth at home on Saturday, which is a really, really important game to them.
6-pointer, you call it almost, wouldn't you?
Bournemouth are already at the stage everyone will look at and think, got to beat them. Forest will obviously be desperate to try and win that fixture. There's every chance they'll rest players at Man City. Seriously. Every chance that they will rotate the team. Why wouldn't they? You're going to get beat anyway, as the chances. You've just played Tottenham Sunday. Imagine this. You played Tottenham Sunday, Man City Wednesday, and then they're too knackered to see off Bournemouth. You've just got to think about it logically and pick your own punches, I think, haven't you? So it's not to say Forest are going to change all 11, but I think we will see some players rotated. Doesn't mean that City are going to beat them by more. It's just something to be aware of. The reason I think Haaland plays on Wednesday is what's to come afterwards. So Guardiola spoke about this 3 days being a problem. Well, I think the most logical thing when City are playing 3 days twice is that he misses the middle one. Like, legitimately, I just think that's the most logical thing. They play Seville in the Champions League. I think it's Seville on Tuesday. Their Champions League game is Tuesday anyway. Then there's a 4-day gap to Tottenham. Then there's a 4-day gap to Champions League again. Then there's 3 days to Wolves. The Wolves game might be a little bit iffy. That's game week 8. Let's worry about that in a little bit, I think. And arguably that particular week, there are some other ones where maybe you'd look away from Man City with Wolves away anyway. But I just think it makes logical sense that he misses Villa. I don't think Guardiola will look at it and go, I'm going to save him for Forest because Villa's more difficult. You think Guardiola's sitting there at the moment, thinks Villa away is difficult? No, he really doesn't. So I think he probably starts against Forest. On paper, yes, it's the easier one. But it doesn't seem to make logical sense to me to actually, when we know that actually they are also trying to build up his fitness, to give him another whole 7 days off.
Yeah.
I think this is it. I wouldn't be surprised if he played like 45 minutes in the week, to be totally honest. Wouldn't be surprised at all.
Still potentially returns.
I would be surprised if he's played 45 minutes and Man City haven't already got the game won.
Yeah.
Unless obviously he can get injured during the game. So I think he starts personally. Therefore, as it stands, unless Guardiola tells me something the next 24 hours or so that makes me think different, I'll captain him this week. And then the obvious idea is you could say, right, sell him for Kane and then go immediately back. The problem with that is it does become quite psychologically difficult.
The value is huge now. He's up to 11.8.
Well, this is it. He's 11.8. He's going to keep going. It'd be 11.9 probably by deadline. And if he returns again, the wider game, he's not going to be thinking, I bet he gets dropped at Villa. I'll sell him. Now, if he gets 3 or 4 against Forest, it'd be 11.1 or so when by the time that Villa game comes around. What are you going to do?
12.1.
Sell him for 12.1. Thank you. What are you going to do? Sell him for 11.8 for one game and then buy him back at 12.1. If
not
that's
going to happen.
No, reality is you're going to probably stick, aren't you? So
Palace, avoid. I think they're going to give. They've come out of their the Arsenal, Liverpool, City in the first 4, but Brentford are a difficult team to play against. Newcastle are in good form, but the Manchester United may be a bit resurgent. Then Brighton, then Chelsea. I think they'll give all of these teams a good game, but they could quite easily come out of it with just 2 or 3 points from all of it. And I'm going to avoid it because I don't know what way it could go. And that's not saying that I think Palace are bad. I just think that they're still a bit difficult, the next 5 fixtures, and unpredictable, and there's nothing there that I would want. And obviously Zaha, we don't know what the prognosis is. Do we know if he's going to be back and ready
No,
for midweek?
Vieira was asked after the game, and his response to, I think it's Matt Woosman is the journalist, I think it covers Palace most predominantly. Vieira's response was, he's not here. It's literally what he said to him. Which I guess, you know how I say, like, sometimes in the pre-game pressers, like, push a little bit more. Was he okay yesterday?
Yeah.
Like Guardiola giving no information. Okay, did Aki train yesterday? Can you give us something? That's one where I think you probably don't push any further after his team's blown a 2-goal lead. And it's difficult to say blown away to Man City. I think, yeah, you let that one go. So with the game being Tuesday, presumably Patrick Vieira will have a press conference today. So you should have the information in any case about whether he's going to play. Zaha is fine if you've got to potentially hold. Otherwise, no interest in Palace. Tyrick Mitchell might have got an injury at the weekend. That's a potential problem. Having Ward or Klein at left back, and I'm sure they will go back to a back 4. He's a little bit awkward. But yeah, so as you said, these fixtures coming up, yeah, I've got Mig is scheduled to come on game week 10 prior to Leeds when that run's finished. Because I just can't see. I think defensively would be really good. I'm not bothered that they conceded 4 to City. It can happen. They'll be good, but I'll come back and look at it after that period, as far as I'm concerned. Just a couple more quick notes on City just before we finish. Cancelo. Underlying numbers not good at the moment. My take is, because every time I mention a bit of data at the moment, people go, your data size is too small. Yeah, consider that. But getting taken off when they're losing 2-0 is quite interesting. I think that it's probably good for him for upcoming fixtures that he's taken off early. There might be something that they just saw in the game with perhaps the way Jordan Ayew, who's a really good defensive forward in terms of the work he does defensively, they've just gone, we'll take him out of this. They changed shape to a back 3 later in the game. They dropped Phil Foden into central midfield alongside Rodri, pushed Gundogan and De Bruyne up further and played in a box shape, and then put Alvarez and Bernardo really high either side of Haaland, and they just literally overwhelmed Palace. It was a big gamble to do that because you can easily end up losing 3-4-0 on a counter-attack. But that's why Guardiola is one of the best, in fairness.
He is. Arsenal 2, Fulham 1. If you're talking about games where they're overwhelmed and sieged, I mean, Arsenal dominant in this game in so many ways, especially the second half in terms of just really pushing. But let's talk about Fulham just quickly, because Mitrovic is still getting a bit of interest. He's only up, I'm saying he's only up to 6.7. I thought he might have had a few more rises, but with their run coming up now, Brighton, Tottenham, Chelsea, it's not interesting at all for me. But post that, I think I'm definitely going to be looking to have a little bit of Mitrovic or that kind of thing from game week 7 or 8 onwards.
I think he is interesting, Suj, irrespective of the fixture, because he's such a talisman. He is every capability of finishing this season as being the best talisman in the game. And what I mean by that is best percentage of points from a given team.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you.
I
just I don't have a slot for a 6.7 midfielder, which means downgrading one of my 2.8 millions, who's Kulu and Diaz. Now, I don't know if I want to do that right now. So, and it would change in formation as well to 3 up the top.
I was going to say, how would you make that work?
So I'd go Diaz or Kulu down to a 4.5, upgrade Archer to Mitrovic, and then with the spare money, I'd actually find a way of getting to Reece James. So I'd have Reece James and Mitrovic over a 8 million midfielder, and it sounds like it could work, but I'm going to wait.
I was going to say you might be talking yourself into it.
Yeah, no, it gives me 2 options. Like I've had 4 cheapos right from the start of the season. I'm working my way towards only 3 and having a fixed bench of Pereira, Nico Williams, and another. Which might still be Cameron Archer, or it might be another midfielder at 4.5. But yeah, Fulham, I mean, it's difficult going to the Emirates, right, for a promoted team. But to nick the goal and be 1 up was decent. But my God, I mean, they had chances, Arsenal. And it just didn't quite click. But Arsenal of old, might have drawn or even not got back into it, this Arsenal team did manage to get back into it, and they won 2-1 in the end.
I mean, it's obviously, I don't disagree that I think Arsenal would deserve to win. I think it's probably not quite as clear cut as you're making out, in the sense that obviously once Fulham had scored and they're obviously tiring, yeah, of course you're expecting an avalanche of pressure to come your way. And as much as Arsenal played some great football in the first half hour or so, but never actually looked like they were going to score, to be totally honest.
Final third or in the box was the issue.
And you can
when
say
you pile the pressure on, eventually it does come.
Of course, and you earn your own luck, and I think Arsenal deserve to win. I agree, but both goals are fortuitous, aren't they?
Yeah.
In terms of the way they've happened and stuff. I think it's obviously a big win for Arsenal. Keeps them top, 4 wins from 4. I think as soon as they won at Palace, we would have expected this. I expect them to beat Villa again on Wednesday night. Then there's tests to come. And we'll get a clearer indication of Arsenal. United now looks tougher, doesn't it, in game week 6 than it looked prior to United's game against Liverpool, for example. Whereas I think before Liverpool, I'd have even looked and gone, yeah, probably could captain even Jesus or Martinelli at Manchester United as an alternative. I wouldn't consider doing that now. Key points for Arsenal is cut the key injuries. So Thomas Partey out is a problem for them. And immediately, as soon as you take some players out of their team, they can look a little bit lighter. Kieran Tierney obviously played in for Zinchenko. We haven't got the information on Zinchenko injury as yet.
It's not exactly a downgrade, is it? Tierney coming in.
No,
it's
not.
But it's different.
But Arsenal would clearly set up to wanted to play Zinchenko as an inverted fullback that was going to come into midfield and help El Neni so that Xhaka could still go forward. It's not a criticism of Kieran Tierney because I've never seen him do it before. It looks so uncomfortable. Really, really looked uncomfortable, him going into that area. Now, he can train and learn and do the position better. And in obviously a tutor like Zinchenko, he's got one of the best around in terms of doing that transition from fullback to almost holding midfield position. And obviously the other test for Arsenal is he's now becoming obviously into 2 games per week. They do have 4-day spacing, which is much better than what others have got. Once they come into the Europa League, then it's not quite so nice. Then you've got the Thursday, Sunday stuff. And how he rotates the squad will be important. For me, Arteta should just put out the second team for every Europa League game, is my opinion, because I think opportunity is there for them in the league at the moment, where we've seen vulnerabilities in Liverpool, vulnerabilities in Manchester City. It's not to say I think Arsenal are going to challenge for the title, but at the moment, when they keep winning games, they're in position. And I think that absolutely, even when the Europa starts, has to remain the priority. None of this, Jesus played in Europe on the Thursday, so he's not going to play on the Sunday. No. Keep your players back for the Premier League would be what I'd advise. For Fulham, no dramas. I felt that in terms of that avalanche I spoke of, obviously bringing like Issa Diop on, who, can I just say, Suj, Issa Diop, if you haven't seen the goal Fulham conceded at Crawley last week, it's pretty embarrassing. It's his body language. He looks uninterested. And even on the winning goal, he's in and around him, and I'm not saying he should clear it. Your body language is like you're not even there. And they obviously brought him on, and they got a little bit too deep towards the end of that game, in my opinion, which invited a little bit too much pressure. But okay, look, Fulham season is not going to be defined on what they do away to Big Six clubs, but decent. They'll give Tottenham a game on Saturday, I think, which is important in reference to potential those who might land with thinking, oh, I'm going to captain Kane or Son. I would expect to win, obviously, but I think Fulham is looking a tougher game than people had expected.
Definitely. Let's move on to the Sunday games, James. Aston Villa 0, West Ham 1, off the mark for West Ham. Shite game of football. How else can you describe it? I was trying to find a good descriptive word, a nice adjective. Shite game of football. Interesting to note, like Villa set up with Ings and Watkins with Coutinho in behind, which is what they did when they came to London Stadium at the end of last season. In the last, I don't know when we played them, but it felt like the last 5 or 6 games we had them, and they were really easy to defend against. Then with Ings and Watkins running down the channels, because Coutinho didn't play particularly well and grabbed the game by the scruff of the neck. So when I saw Villa set up like that, I thought this will be all right because we've been able to defend these two playing as split forwards like that quite easily before. West Ham, on the other hand, switched to a back three with Emerson coming in left back straight away. 4 million, just saying. I know a lot of people will have eyes on that.
Taken off at half time, though, yeah?
He was. But that was a change of system because we weren't getting enough bodies forward. Creswell, Kehrer and Zuma in the centre. And Soufal had bumped his head last week. So Ben Johnson started right back. But ironically, he got injured in the first half. And so Soufal had to come on for Ben Johnson. And then West Ham, as you'd expect. Although Scamacca did start ahead of Antonio, which we've been calling for a little while. First half was dross. Villa had the better of it, but they had the better of it without creating a massive chances. West Ham hardly had a shot on goal. I think our first shot was like 42 minutes or something stupid like that. Really poor game of football. But another side were able to keep the ball, and the midfield battle was rubbish. Second half, West Ham switched to 4-2-3-1 again. Ben Rama coming on for Emerson. And then finally had a little bit more impetus. And you could tell that West Ham were more threatening, tried to make something happen in the game. And Villas then struggled to kind of keep a hold of the ball. We suddenly didn't turn into world beaters, and we only just edged it. But the second half from West Ham was a bit better. And it's one of those where once the goal has gone in, you can feel kind of the weight and the pressure's lifted off a little bit. And you're like, okay, let's shake ourselves back into some sort of form. Ben Rama's playing well. I mean, he's one of those, he feels like every time he gets on the pitch, he's fighting for his place and proving that he's worthy of playing at this level and really putting the shift in. He gets a lot of stick for his end product, but I'm all for try. If you don't try sometimes to do creative, more difficult things and play through balls, you're never going to get there. And sometimes it doesn't come off.
Why is it when you said that, I was thinking of me leaving Salah out? I'm thinking of the stupidity when you said, if you don't try something different, it's like, maybe I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
No. I get what you're saying.
Scamacca was decent in the first half. I think without really being given the opportunity from the creative players, but he's so much neater and tidier than Antonio when the balls are played into him. You could tell he was getting a bit frustrated with things being knocked long rather than to his feet. So, yeah, I think it was a crap game. I wouldn't be looking at either teams at the moment, especially with Tottenham and Chelsea coming up for West Ham and Villa. I mean, I don't care about their fixture run, but it's Arsenal, Man City as the next two. You're not looking at either of these two teams at the moment. But just West Ham off the mark, really. Jared Bowen, do you remember that? Who was the guy that signed for Southampton under Graham Souness? Was it Ali Dia? And everyone was like, is he really a fucking professional footballer?
Yeah.
Jared Bowen had one of those games.
Oh, wow.
Like everything bounced off him the wrong way, couldn't dribble, kept getting like he had such a poor game. And that's not to say he's a bad footballer. But honestly, he had one of those where it was like, a deer learns to walk for the first time and all they do is fall over. It just nothing's going right for him at the moment. Although credit to Moyes for just keeping him on the pitch rather than subbing him off, to be honest with you. Because I think you've got to play yourself.
Sounds like you should have been subbed off, mate.
Yeah, but you've got to play yourself back into form sometimes. I don't think it would do him any benefit to come off. I think he just needs something to come off for him, one goal or something like that, and he'll shake it off. But yeah, crap game. Wouldn't buy any players from either of these two teams. Let's move on. Keep an eye though if West Ham want to keep playing a back five, because then Emerson will be.
Well, yeah, this is what I was going to say. That's
and then
really
there's a 4 million defender there for you that I would look at, but not for the next couple of weeks.
To be honest, the only reason I would go Nico Williams over him now, and I'm conscious that Williams is actually losing a little bit of support, which is understandable coming into the Forest not the Forest fixture, sorry, the Man City fixture going into midweek. I need that player, be it Nico Williams, to play for me in game week 6, I think. And with Bournemouth at home and you going to Chelsea, even if Emerson gets in the team. Yeah, and it might be that I chain it on because you've got a really good run from game week 7, 3 home fixtures in 4, Newcastle, Wolves, Fulham. The away game in the middle of that is Everton. Then you go to Southampton. Then there's Liverpool away. But then on the other side, there's Bournemouth at home. So good run of fixtures where I think Emerson, you need to be on the pulse and keep an eye on this. Because if he's going to play left wing back, he's arguably going to be the best one. because with you, there's far greater potential with the clean sheets than with respect. Nico Williams, he's 100% at some point in the next couple of months, he's going to drop a 15-pointer, and he's probably going to be on most people's bench. I don't want it to be next Saturday against Bournemouth.
Yeah, Emerson, you got to have eyes on, because obviously Cornet is still sitting there and he can play left wing back as well. Games where we want to be a bit more attacking and push on, you might choose Cornet over Emerson. But there's a bit of depth there now all of a sudden, and Paqueta, whatever you want to call him, signing today. So what that does to the formation is going to be interesting as well, because whether or not he's a straight swap out for Souček, or whether or not we're going to play with him as a 4-2-3-1 as a number 10, is something to consider. Because if we play 3-4-3, let's call it, then I think he'd take Souček's place. If we play 4-2-3-1, then he can play in that hole in behind the striker, Paqueta. And we're not spending, 35 to 50 million pounds on him to be a bench player. So
no, he's a super talent.
To be interested to see what happens once he's signed as well in terms of the formation. I think I'd like to see him take Souček's place, to be honest with you, moving forward.
It might be a little bit too brave, and you might find that very prohibitive to Rice. Would be my early instincts on that.
But then Rice just hold and let Paqueta go and do his thing. But
I think we're beyond the days of wanting to restrict Declan Rice. To be
I mean,
honest.
the second half driving runs, he was the one that can always grab the game by the scruff of the neck and up the tempo. So
agreed. Just quickly, Planet FPL Derby. As you're not around, do you want to give everyone a prediction now?
2-1 to Spurs. But I was more fearful than after the second half yesterday. I thought, okay, we're solid defensively. We are solid. Kera's been decent. Zuma had a good game, so I don't think it's going to go crazy. But I do think Spurs will have too much. 2-1 to Spurs.
Before we move on from this game, I had a DM last night from our Villa correspondent, Mr. Lee Jackson.
Yeah,
He'll be joining us on COTC next Thursday ahead of their trip to Leicester in game week 7. Now, I'm not saying that Lee wasn't on the booze all day, and he might have been, and I don't know because the message was quite late. But the message was, Steven Gerrard has to go, man. Clueless. Poor results can be down to luck, but no identity, no cohesion, no game plan. It's worrying.
Yeah, they're chopping and changing formations all the time. And then I don't know what he wants to do with Buendia and Bailey and Coutinho. Coutinho was crap, by the way.
He picked up a hamstring injury, didn't he? As well.
I think he did.
You're watching the game, Suj, not me.
I was watching paint dry.
Go for a dump at that point, did you?
I was watching paint dry, mate. He was crap. Yeah, honestly, he was so bad.
I told you, I think that them signing Coutinho was an error.
Wolves won, Newcastle won. Let's keep moving through these games.
If you got any Villa players, sell. That gift, sell. Yeah, honestly, that's it, mate. Yeah.
Move them on now. Move them on. Wolves won, Newcastle won. A good point for Wolves, I think. I mean, they could have won the game, to be honest with you, by the late equaliser, and they'd obviously had the goal disallowed. Rightly so, I think, for the foul Neto on was it Fraser?
I mean, we'll just give the free kick in the first place. It would be a little bit annoying, but yeah.
I mean, look, they'll be a bit heartened, I think, now, Wolves. They were right at your place. They've got a draw at home to Newcastle now. The signs of progress, would you say?
For which one, sorry?
Wolves.
For Wolves? I don't know if being below.
Did I say Newcastle? I meant Wolves.
I was just thinking, I don't know if being below Bournemouth is progress right now. So I think, look, they're starting 11. White stays fit. He's fine. I didn't watch a lot of this yesterday, to be totally honest. Obviously, great goal from
fair play.
Neves.
I was looking at the table, 2 points.
Yes, below us. Thank you.
It's not great.
This is going to be the opening line in Clash of Correspondents, isn't it? It's going to be. So, Neil, how do you feel having lost 9-0? Hey, Bradley, how do you feel being below them? So yeah, that'll be out for you early tomorrow. That team that they picked there, the 4-3-3 yesterday, and I have not seen a lot of the game because I was up in Nottingham. Is their best team on paper. With Semedo, I think, coming in for 8 Nori. That might be debatable. other than the fullbacks, you can have a debate between Semedo, Aït-Nouri, Johnny, and I think we knew we'd get some sort of rotation with Wolves playing Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday this week. It's probably their best team. Neto was unlucky not to return yesterday. Obviously, it was him that fouled Fraser, led to the Jimenez disallowed goal, and he had made a great run early in the first half, dinked it over. They've got Bournemouth and Southampton in the next two. If you've got more pressing issues, I'd keep them in, like your Neto and stuff. If you haven't, I'd arguably move it on. I just don't ever see goals in them, personally. I think these next two games are really, really important, Bournemouth and Southampton, because then they've got Liverpool, City, West Ham, Chelsea. And yeah, then they might be one we're suddenly looking at come game week 10 going, well, I thought in pre-season they'd be in trouble. Then they bought a few good players and I watched them and they played okay. And actually, yeah, they may still be in trouble. Newcastle, I think this is quite a relevant note for Liverpool, actually, in the game in midweek. So, St. Maximin, after his brilliant equalising goal, appeared to suggest he has a hamstring problem. Not thought to be serious.
Yeah, he came off in the 96th, 5th minute or something.
Obviously needs some assessment, but you're thinking Wednesday night, St. Maximin against Trent, you're going to give Trent some problems. Well, if St. Maximin's unavailable, it's a problem for Newcastle because obviously Callum Wilson is still going to be out. And although Alexander Isak has been signed from Real Sociedad, they've currently got visa issues registering. And I think they've probably got to about 12 o'clock tomorrow, I think. So by the time you hear this again, it might be Isak's available. And it could be because of the circumstance that he goes straight in the team. And obviously, Bruno Guimaraes is out. And Eddie Howe has confirmed that he's likely to miss a couple of games, which I think at this stage is safe enough to say he's going to miss Liverpool away. So suddenly, you've taken out their three best players about to go to Liverpool. Problem. Kieran Trippier might be a doubt as well. Apparently, he was feeling his hamstring with about half hour to go, but finished the game. So again, once you stiffen up afterwards, that might be a little bit of a problem to keep an eye on as well. I'm going to guess most FPL managers probably weren't intending to start Trippier anyway at Liverpool, but keep an eye on that. So if Newcastle going to Liverpool without St. Maximin, without Wilson, without Guimaraes, and with Isak unavailable, I'll be honest with you, I don't see them getting anything. And I think it could be another clean sheet for Liverpool. And I'm conscious of that, thinking about Robertson and stuff. Although I don't think it's even a certainty that he would start. So yeah, Newcastle probably just got to get through this midweek fixture, I think. Then they come into a really nice run of fixtures. And I think Isak could become really popular really quickly. So he's in at 7 million. It's a really nice price. Keep an eye on it. But yeah, those injuries are problematic for them going to Liverpool in midweek.
Nottingham Forest 0, Spurs 2. Harry Kane, 2 goals and a missed penalty. I only know because of Sky Fantasy Football. Should have scored me more points than he did, but I shouldn't complain. He still scored 12 or 13 points or whatever it was. But not very high ownership in FPL now, 17.5%. You think a lot of dead teams might have him as well. Yes. And a price drop to 11.4, but he's ticking along nicely, is Harry Kane.
There is a case, looking at it on paper right now, to say 2 premiums, Haaland and Kane. I don't like that. I just don't like it from a structure perspective, unfortunately. And I think that for most of us, unless we can reroute that where, I don't know, let's say Bruno or Raheem really step up to show they'd be worthy of captaincy at their price rather than, say, Mo's price, perhaps we could look at it and the likes of Luis Diaz break out to be a Liverpool captaincy option. Then I don't really like that as a setup idea. I know some people are on that. There will definitely be someone listening who's got Haaland, Kane, and Jesus who's laughing at the moment and really happy. I'd probably think about selling Jesus. I wouldn't advise that either at the moment. But it's Haaland is going to make having Kane difficult, which obviously is worth saying. It's going to make him a super differential for many games, particularly as well when he'll score in any game. We know this historically, that his record in away games is as good as home games anyway. But I think it's going to be difficult to get to exactly what I mentioned earlier. If Haaland does well against Forest, and I think then he's not playing at Villa, I might honestly go in Haaland to Kane for 1 game to go back again and losing the value in that as well. The value psychologically does kill. You could say, oh, take the hit on the 0.3 and get yourself. I mean, how many points do you kind of need to justify that? Do you think to take a hit on say 0.3? How many points do you want from Kane in that one fixture to make that justifiable?
A lot.
Yeah,
15.
probably.
Yeah, and even then, I don't know if I would do it, just because long-term thinking, like Haaland for me, just sits now. Barring injury, I can't see him moving.
Well, that
and I can't see, like, just as easily Haaland could go and bang 3 goals in straight. Like, it just doesn't make sense to do it.
As I've
I'm
said to
struggling
you,
to see the circumstance.
I'm sure at some point Haaland will get injured this season. Fairly certain of that. And at that point, most people will probably steam into Harry Kane because he's going to be there at that value, isn't it? But it might
He'll
be
be injured
Núñez
at the same time, probably.
it might be saved the money on Darwin Núñez, for example.
Mitrovic go all the way down, but
really impressed with Forest, actually. I think they can count themselves a little bit unlucky. The only thing I'd say is, particularly in the back end of the first half, they had a really dominant period, but I didn't ever actually think they were going to score. And I think this might be an issue for them. That said, obviously integrating people like Emmanuel Dennis into the team, who hasn't started yet, see how he gets on. But I think this might be a bit of an Achilles heel for Forest, is physically scoring goals this season. Williams is a massive danger from right wing back. He really, really is. He's going to get a haul somewhere. Mark was in complete agreement with me after the game that, yeah, and every chance it will come in a week where most people bench him and stuff. I think otherwise I would have no interest in them at the moment. Obviously, the keeper saved the penalties. He saved 2 penalties in 4 games, so he's going to fly up in value.
I think he saved like 6 of his last 10 or 7 of his last 10 or something stupid. I 11 of his last 19. He saved a lot of penalties.
I think the stat I saw last night was only 1 of the last 5 he'd faced had been scored. Right. I think 1 had hit the post and he'd saved 3. Okay. And the other 1 was obviously scored, which is, I mean, that is incredible in itself. It's also statistics probably not likely to continue, I'd suggest. They have good fixtures coming after Man City, so I can certainly see the appeal in going Dean Henderson for many. For Spurs, not our best day. Absolutely ruthless on the counter attack. I think it's impressive that it kind of feels like we haven't started yet and have 10 points from 4 games that includes a trip to Chelsea. Like, really, we've played well for half hour against Southampton. Other than that, and it's not to say we've been particularly bad. Other than that, I mean, Wolves were better than us first half. Forest were better than us for large periods yesterday. Chelsea should have beaten us in 2. There's a case to say we should only be on about 5 points. We're on 10. So that's a plus, because there's plenty to kick in. Rodrigo Bentancur was a concussion substitute, I believe, towards the end of the game yesterday. So there's every chance Basuma will start against yourselves and Fulham, I would have thought. Suj. Højbjerg's stamina is off the chart. He'll probably just play all the games at the moment. But more interest is obviously what happens with Son and Kane. So on the face of it, I think the fact that Tottenham's Champions League game next midweek against Marseille is on the Wednesday probably means that Kane will start all 3 of the games this week. So I would expect him, as it stands, to start West Ham and Fulham. I don't expect Sonny to start both. It's almost unjustifiable for him to start both and not give Richarlison some minutes at the moment. The crowd absolutely adore him, Suj. As soon as he comes on, yeah, I know he's a complete shithouse. I know he's dislikable, all those things. Our crowd absolutely love him. Already have really taken to him. What an assist for the 2nd goal, by the way. So, go on.
Yeah, I don't care that they fouled him. that double teaming. It's just
I don't like that.
Showboating.
To be honest,
what though?
I don't mind the showboating.
And you injure them, it's a little bit
more the case
dangerous.
I can live with the showboating, but I don't think don't do it at 2-0 with like 10 minutes to go. There's long enough left in the game not to do that. If we're 4-0 up and he does that, I don't care. I'm loving it, mate. And if it's against me and the other team's beating us 4-0 and someone does that, fine. You've earned the right to take the piss if you want to take the piss, is my take on it. I didn't like that he did it at 2-0 with a good sort of 10 minutes to go. And of course he's going to get wiped out. It's clever play when you think about it. He's guaranteeing that an opposition player is going to get booked. So it's quite clever.
You take Sonny's going to lose some minutes to Richarlison. Kulu on the other side, because I've got Kulu sitting there. For me, when you talk about Diaz versus Salah, Kulu versus Son, Kulu's obviously well ahead of Son right now as value for money and points and all the rest of it. He just sits for me, right? He'll have a couple of blanks, but then he'll come and return again a 6-pointer. And would you like if I guaranteed you 6 points a week from your 8 million midfielder for the rest of the season, you'd take it, wouldn't you?
Yeah, the only thing I'd say is I think after Fulham, if you've looked at these 3 games, say Kulusevski blanks against West Ham, blanks against Fulham, you'll be getting sold on mass ahead of
Man But he's already at 8-2, so he's gone up by 0.2.
But that's not reason to just keep a player. It's a little bit different to what we're talking about with Haaland, is it? Where you want to go back.
After that, that's when I can maybe look at going to Mitrovic and changing the structure of my team and what have you. But he's going nowhere for the next 2, Kulu.
No, and that's perfectly reasonable.
Yeah.
I wouldn't invest in Tottenham this midweek because there's other teams with far better fixtures. The Planet FPL Derby is always a difficult game for us. That said, to be honest, if Son doesn't start against West Ham, I'm half tempted to get him straight back for Fulham. What's really interesting about this, but yeah, I think he's got to go. He had one great effort in the first half yesterday. He also had an effort in the second half, which ended up straight at Henderson. And having watched the Wolves game back last week, actually, was better than what I felt at the time watching the game. But it's just not quite happening at the moment. And certainly the X minutes threat is there from Richarlison, immediate and obvious. Richarlison's 2 substitute appearances for Tottenham have been great so far. And Sonny's cutting, let's say, a frustrated figure. I've seen the images of him on the bench afterwards where he gets taken off and he's clearly not very happy. And then you've got Richarlison after the game winding up Jamie Carragher and stuff. I mean, that takes some doing. So I think Richarlison will start one of these 2 games. I've no idea which one. But I think the general advice at the moment would be, yeah, if you've got Son, we probably move it on now. Kulusevski, I agree with your opinion, Suj. I think Harry Kane's obviously a fine hold. Subject maybe to how you feel about the big Norwegian in Manchester. Defensively, pretty solid, really. As much as I said, they had large spells of dominance, Forest, I never really felt like they was going to score. I think Tottenham are now, I want to say, at 9 games without conceding when Davinson Sanchez has started. And yet, as soon as Romero's fit, he's coming in the team for him.
Interesting.
Perisic,
James,
I don't know if he's going to play on Wednesday or not. My instinct right now would be yes, probably.
If you own, just hold the bastard and just ride it out.
Oh, yeah, simple. If you've got... No, it's a nightmare for those of us who don't know. Because even then, yesterday, right, he's obviously returned against a clean sheet. It's his cross for the handball. I mean, what was Cook thinking? And then he's probably walking away with 11 points at that point, isn't he? So he's on the edge of it all the time. So it's about time with me. The only thing I'd say on it for those non-owners, and I've begun thinking about this, you think, I've missed Wolves now. I've missed Nottingham Forest. West Ham away is obviously not easy. If he plays at West Ham, is he going to play against Fulham? Then there's tough fixtures, certainly from a defensive point of view, at least anyway. And actually, do you think, I could just go without here? So I might not get there, you know. It breaks my heart because I love him, but I just might not get there at the moment.
James, you know, before we started recording, I said, look, we'll rattle through the games because we've only got a short turnaround between these pods. It's an hour and a half.
We've not done that.
We've not done that as standard. Do you want to tell the listeners what we've got coming up for the rest of the week? And then we can wrap. We do have the Q&A for the patrons later.
Yes, which will be Suj's last podcast till I believe next Tuesday because he's disappearing. Where are you going?
I'm going to Tenerife, sir.
Enjoy. Send fuck off Rob Pick, my love. Right, yeah, content this best. Week. Tuesday, Clash of the Correspondents tomorrow. Bournemouth versus Wolves with Neil Grover, Bradley Parker. It's a Tuesday deadline tomorrow, so we'll get that out for you as soon as possible. For the YouTube viewers, probably around about 11 in the morning, latest at 12 o'clock lunchtime. Audio will be out in the morning, possibly if you're going to work, basically. Obviously, deadline stream. I think it's 5 o'clock. What's deadline on Tuesday, Suj? Is it 6?
I'm going to find out for you.
It's 6, I think, isn't it? Yeah, it's a deadline stream at 5. Wednesday, Sky Fantasy Football. Luke Williams, Disable, FF Scout. Luke will be joining me for the Sky Fantasy pod this week. Clash of Correspondents Thursday. Manchester United versus Arsenal with Gary Robinson and Adam Pritchard. Luke Bora, FPL Irons, is standing in for Suj to join me for Friday's podcast, reviewing all of Game Week 5. Mr. Tom Campbell will be joining me for the Game Week 6 review next Monday in place of Suj. Patreon pods are Q&A today, as Suj said. Tomorrow I've got Clayton. He's joining us. for the differential show previewing game week 5. Wednesday, Sham from the FPL Happy Hour is joining me for Tottenham. Thursday, I'll do an Ask James stream. Friday, Adam Gearin is joining me for the game week 6 preview. And next Monday, Lewis Brown is joining me for the Q&A. And if any patrons are listening and want to do the Champions League preview for next Tuesday, because Suj will probably still be cut on his way back from Tenerife, then give me a shout.
Lovely, jubbly. And if you do want to support the show...
Champions League fantasy preview, I should add, sorry.
Of course. If you want to support the show, you can head over to patreon.com/Planet FPL. And we'd love to have you. Look, keeps the lights on and keeps us getting out of bed at 8 o'clock. Well, got out of bed earlier, didn't we? To record at 8 a.m. on a bank holiday after James got back at 10. This is me bringing the violins out. 10 o'clock at night, he's getting in from seeing Spurs at Forest. And me being me, because I'm out with the kids in the afternoon, getting him up super early. Why not support the show by coming and joining our amazing community on Slack of patrons?
It's a bank
really
holiday.
Supportive. It is a bank holiday.
Bank holiday. I'm working.
If you do sign up, I'm just saying, if you sign up today, tomorrow, or Wednesday, we'll refund you because there's only 3 days left.
You're giving me more work. I've got a refund paper as well.
Only if they sign up. So why don't you all sign up and give James more work?
I will.
Then,
I will 100% do that. Yes, obviously Thursday, September the 1st.
We ain't going to charge you for the last few days. You have to sign up, and then we'll refund it. And then from 1st of September, you can come and be a part of the community for sure. We'd love to have you over there. Prize leagues, fun banter on the Slack, all the rest of it.
ITK.
Other than that,
it's the main thing. When we do the Slack, the real thing we should ITK. It's the main thing.
Listeners, hope you enjoyed listening to this podcast. Sorry if it's a bit long, but I hope you managed to squeeze it in before the Game Week 5 deadline. Good luck with Game Week 5. You'll hear from me in just over a week, so enjoy the week without me and stay safe. Ciao for now.
Have a good holiday, boss. Be nice to each other, everyone. Play it your way. Good luck for Game Week 5. Cue music, please. Man sharp.